Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you're all well and hope you had a wonderful week. I'm here with Drop In, so let's see if I can transcend my challenges here today. Yeah, cool. We've had some issues in the back room here, but all back and happy. So I hope you guys have had a great week and looking forward to the weekend. Before we get into little Oprah, as you can see, I'm doing a little bit of a thing on Oprah today and her shenanigans here in South Africa with her girls' school. I'm going to try and be impeccable with my word. Challenging sometimes, I have to say, when it comes to this sort of stuff. But nonetheless, we'll get there. Okay, but before that, I want to just maybe check on the schedule for the upcoming week and just let you guys know what's going on. So I'm going to pop it right up here. Okay, Monday, of course, we have our lovely Bryce again, and I'm not sure which body part and which person with what missing body parts. It's actually been quite entertaining, I have to say. We're looking at the missing heads of the Matahari, and I think it was... the King's Alexander, that's right. We're doing a few of them in the next few weeks, so that should be quite interesting. Then, of course, Tuesday, we've got Alice Parola again, mental wealth, so we're going to be talking about that. Wednesday, we've got Double Dose Jessie. I know you guys have been missing Jessie a bit lately. She's had some challenges and has had to, sort some stuff out. So we weren't able to have on Wednesday, but we will have her back for a double dose this week. So Jessie fans, fear not. And I always get a lot of messages from you guys. But she is around and she will be back. Well, hopefully anyway, God willing. And then, of course, we have Bryce again in the evening with the last of the Sophia Code, which I must say I found, the last chapter, I think. We might have 1 or 2 weeks left of that, but not quite sure. Depends how far we go. So Bryce and Thea and myself on Wednesday. Thursday, of course, is Caleb Jade, his new Thursday spot. And I think if you guys have been listening to his shows, wow. And especially yesterday's, especially the crystals and the soul gems. I mean, what he was doing, in the interview I had with him yesterday, he was talking about the body and the crystals that we actually have in our body, the natural crystals, our God-given gifts that we all have in our bodies, and how we pretty much have been dumbed down over the centuries, decades, with food, stuff they're putting in our water, just our consciousness, which is very interesting. Knowledge is power. So when we can start reclaiming that, it's going to be very good for all of us, right? Friday we have Kerry Saint again, and Friday next week I'll also be back on Catherine Edwards' show, doing the 5th agreement. So for those of you who've missed my show with her early on this channel, doing the 4 agreements, was really good. Such basic, beautiful simplicity, in a way that we can live our lives amazingly well. And then, of course, Caleb again on Sunday. This coming Sunday as well, Caleb will be back, and we're going to be doing part 2 of the crystals and stuff like that. How the crystals work, how they use them, etc. And I think that is such important information for all of us to have, because whether you believe that crystals are good or bad, they really are just God's gift to us and to the earth, but it's really how we using them, right? Which makes all the difference in the world. Cool. So I think that's it for our upcoming week. But this week we are looking at Madame Oprah Winfrey on her shenanigans here in South Africa. Now, oh man, Oprah. I remember, when I was I want to say younger, yeah. Well, not as in young, but in years gone by. Oprah was certainly one of my favorite shows to watch. You know, she was always so inspiring. Always had these amazing guests on telling us amazing things, which is really amazing when you look at it from a superficial level. But as we know by now, these people are so, they live such amazing, deceptive cover lives, right? And if you have anything, I remember right in the beginning of this channel, when we first started looking into these things 3 years ago, I watched something on Gene Decode, and Gene Decode was talking about Oprah being America's water witch. And I just find it interesting, and I'm going to just show you this little thing here, The Covenant of Water, a book she was promoting. I just found that very interesting. I'm not saying there's any connection, because when you look at it, it's about some guy from India who really is talking about an experience of from 1900 to 1970 or something like that. I don't know the book. I haven't read it. It's the first time I saw it, but I just thought that was actually interesting. She's also really that Melchizedek. What's the thing with Melchizedek with the purple and the pearls? She's right up there with them as well. So I think there's a lot to be said about Oprah Winfrey. And it's so disappointing, because when you actually hear her and the things she says and the way she says things, she actually speaks such amazing words. I don't want to say truth, because it's obviously not her truth. She's learned how to be very deceptive around these things, but it's quite sad, really. Anyway, so what I want to just say is she actually started the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls, which started here in Johannesburg in 2007. And in fact, one of my good friends at the time, and she's sadly passed away now, was working for the construction company that was building the school, or one of the companies that was building the school. I mean, this was like, I think, a $46 million boarding school. And she actually met Oprah a few times. And she just said to me at the time, she says to me, I don't like Oprah. There's something very, very strange about her. And she said she's, you know, they'd have meetings and what have you, but she was quite involved with the process there. But she was very clear to me that she did not like Oprah. But I think also, you know, people pick up on things, they're intuitive, and we hear about these things. At the time, none of it really makes sense. But as we go along, it starts to make more and more sense. So I'm just going to go through this, and I'm sure some of you might know already about this stuff. And I'm going to be checking the comments as well. Hello, Dale. Yeah, it's true. They have to portray that they're doing good for humanity, because that, of course, is the perfect cover, right? And she's done that so well. My opinion is that she's obviously wanting to get her claws into Africa, because she just loves Africa. Africa is what's not to love about Africa, right? Any of you that have been here will know that. And I find that very, very interesting as well. You know, just what Caleb Jade was saying last night about the foods and how they're dumbing us down with the foods. I mean, Africa is always made out to be this pitiful third world continent where no one knows what they're doing. And please, I'm not saying that there's not issues and stuff that go on here. There are a lot, because it's been so paralyzed, really, by the West. You know, the West has known exactly how to paralyze the African people. However, the African people, because of that, we don't have nearly as much technology, although there are cell phones and things and there are TVs, but not nearly as much as what there is like in America and Europe and places like that. Most of their food in the rural areas is still grown. They still grow their own food. So their pituitary gland, pineal gland, sorry, is still probably relatively decalcified, which means they still have strong connections to the earth and to their ancestors and that sort of thing, which is very strong, you know, in the African cultures. So we can see why. I mean, it's obvious as daylight to me why these guys are after Africa and why they turn us into this ridiculous, pathetic third world country, which we're really not. We're not. It might be rural, but the people have got their spirit connected in the right place, that's for sure. And of course, I'm not saying there's not dark witchcraft and stuff. I'm always hearing that. Of course there is. There's always going to be the flip side to stuff, but the potential that exists here is huge. And I know, what was his name again? That psychic? Nostradamus always spoke about, and I'm sure Nostradamus is part of the system as well, spoke about Africa being the breadbasket for the world at the end times. And we can certainly see how they've been using us as their grocery store as the years have gone on, raping and pillaging, mining, just taking our gold, our minerals, everything, and just ripping it out and not reinvesting back in this continent at all. It's actually really sad and pretty annoying as well. But I guess there's purpose in everything, and we'll figure it out as we go along. Yeah, Duke, I agree with you. Africa will feed the world one day. We were looking at statistics not too long ago, and not South Africa. Africa is actually the most underpopulated continent on this planet, and yet there's this perception that we are so overpopulated. And I'm not saying there aren't areas that are overpopulated. I'm pretty sure there are, but it's not the perception that the world is giving. Not the true perception that the media is giving to the rest of the world. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, let me carry on with this. And if any of you, hello, Chris. I know, Chris. How are you? Good to see you, Chris. Anyway, so if there's any of you that actually have anything any further information that what I'm going to be giving you, I'd actually really like to hear it. Jessica, you're so sweet. Thank you. After the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened up in Johannesburg in South Africa in 2007, after Oprah and Nelson Mandela, don't worry, he's coming up too, guys and girls. Nelson Mandela is definitely not the person we thought he was, right? So after Oprah and Nelson Mandela had talks about the looming poverty in South Africa, they decided that it was a great idea to start this academy. So she invested $46 million. Now, guys, that is a lot of money in anyone's terms, but especially in South Africa, because currently our rand is 20-1. And I must say, this was probably at round about the time that the rand was probably about 10-1, 8-1, 10-1, somewhere around there. That she was now bringing in this type of money into Africa, South Africa, right? And it's built on a 52-acre campus. Now, that is a huge campus, right? And what I found interesting is that 72 students were enrolled in 2007. So we're getting the 2 and the 7 and the 2, which numerology means the 9. Now, that's just an interesting number at the best of times, but I just picked up on that, and I just thought that was quite interesting as well. There are rumors recently that some of the girls have gone missing from the school, but then, the more I try to research on that, there was a lot of conflict about whether it was from her school or from another school in Zambia. It would not surprise me if it came from Oprah's school, because there's a lot of shenanigans that are going on there. In 2011, law enforcement investigated a dead body of an infant in a young girl's her backpack. This young girl was 17 years old, and she was carrying around her dead infant in her backpack. Now, I find this very interesting to begin with, because, and then all that says, all I can find is that there was no charges laid against this girl. Okay, so no charges were filed. I find that very interesting, for starters, because these girls were not even allowed, and still aren't, as far as I understand. They're only allowed to see their parents once a month for 2 hours. So there's a very strict regime in the school, right? So my question is, how did this girl actually get pregnant? If they are not allowed to see, not even their parents, I'm sure I mean, it's only girls, there's no boys. I mean, I know kids are kids, right? They're always going to find a way. But how did this girl get pregnant? And why, oh, why was she carrying her dead baby in her rucksack? That, or backpack? That for me has always been a mystery. Okay. Shortly after the school opened in 2007, the matron, and I know this was all over local news at the time as well, Virginia Tiny McCorporal, who is a matron at the Oprah Winfrey Academy, was charged with sexually molesting several of the girls. And of course, Oprah fired her, and this was her statement. Nothing is more serious or devastating than an allegation of misconduct by an adult against any girl at the academy. I will do everything within my power to ensure their safety and well-being. Well, my question to that is, when you've spent $46 million on a school, on a 52-acre campus, why are there no security cameras? Why are the girls not protected? There were no security cameras. There was nothing to show this allegation, these abuses that were going on. Big question. Why? Because surely if you have these girls' best interest at heart, and these girls many of these girls and their parents were interviewed. So let me also just say, this was supposed to be an academy for young African girls with leadership abilities, right? And that, and according to Oprah, how they could benefit and how they could, benefit their communities afterwards with their leadership abilities. So this academy was bringing in all their leadership, going to sort of bring out all these latent abilities of theirs so that they could be taught how to be great leaders, strong women leaders in Africa when they left. Yeah, I just find that interesting. And then again, in 2009, the academy was rocked by another sex scandal. 7 students were suspected of sexually harassing their classmates. So now we've got 7 of the girls sexually harassing their classmate and trying to influence them into lesbian encounters and literally trying to turn them into lesbians. A 15-year-old girl try to force others to lie to the police as well. So as far as I know, that girl was also given a hasty exit because it was now found out that she tried to force the others to lie to the police. Now already there, I mean, look at this. The matron, now all the students, a girl found with a dead baby. I mean, I was at boarding school my whole life, right? And yes, there were some shenanigans going on in the boarding school, make no mistake. There always is, kids will be kids. But never, ever has any school I know, and especially not in this country, and especially not with such a prestigious name, right, have so much sexual misconduct. So again, there's a question mark, Oprah is well known for disclosing that she was a victim of assault and raped by her 19-year-old cousin, as well as her mom's ex-boyfriend. As far as I remember correctly as well, I think she gave birth at the age of 14. But we've also heard how family members have come to the fore since then and actually spoke about the fact that that is a blatant lie. That has actually never happened. Oprah is lying. I mean, there's also that big scandal. But I don't, I don't want to base too much of what I'm saying on that. But there's always a question mark around these things, isn't there? And also that I want to just say, if you guys have been watching my shows with Jesse, you will know we've often spoken about Oprah. And one of the things that recently came out, now, as I said, Gene Decode has made it very clear that Oprah is the water witch in America. Jesse has disclosed that Oprah heads up the primate prostitution ring in the system. Now, guys, that is just beyond disgusting. And if we know what that is, it really means that we know. I'm sitting here because I'm not sure how much I can say without being whacked off my channel again. But we know very much how these guys are into bestiality and stuff like that. It is a well-known fact. And from what we're hearing, Oprah heads up that section. So she basically pimps out the gorillas, probably orangutans as well, chimpanzees, and prostitutes them. I can't even think about that. Right. I just can't. That's just disgusting. Hello, Carmen. You love me with no guests. Yeah, I'm seeing the viewers. We've got about 79 viewers on now. It's like I feel like I'm talking to myself. I've still got to get used to this, I must confess. It's much easier talking to someone else, but it's enjoyable. I like it. So it's cool to have you guys hanging out with me. Thank you. Anyway, so what is very interesting as well is that now and then I came across something about Angelina and Oprah, and Angelina Jolie, that is, right? She doesn't like Oprah because she thinks Oprah's school is skanky, and they've been doing stuff. But don't worry, it's Angelina's turn next week. I'm doing stuff on Angelina and Brad, because don't for one second think that Angelina hasn't got her claws into Africa. She loves Namibia. Shiloh was born in Namibia, right? I was there when Shiloh was born. My friend taught Brad, my friend Zelda actually taught Brad, not Angie. Angie was highly pregnant at the time, but the touring company that was looking after Brad and Angie, my friend was, knows them, works for them, and she's a wonderful fire spinner, and she was teaching Brad how to fire spin. So that's Brad Pitt, by the way. Yeah, unless it was a clone, that was Brad Pitt when Angelina and Brad were in Namibia awaiting Shiloh's birth. Now, we also know, well, I'm going to go into it more about why these people choose to have their children born in different countries, right? And we're going to get into that next week. But anyway, Shiloh was born in Namibia as well. So, I mean, they're both strong, powerful women, and they're both philanthropists. But the minute someone talks about a philanthropist, I'm always suspicious, because it's always these dodgy ones who are supposedly the philanthropists, right? So it's very interesting. And then again, when we look at Oprah's links to all her pedophile Harvey Weinstein, I mean, she's been to Epstein Island. And let us not forget John of God. Right, John of God has now been up for more than, I think he's. Let me just find this here. Where it is. I think was it 60 or 600 charges, right, of sexual assault, and he would refuse. John of God refused to be interviewed by anyone else other than Oprah. He kind of remained very much off the radar until Oprah came along, interviewed him. And once he was actually caught out, was caught out with all this sexual scandals, Oprah apparently removed his interview, and all she had to say was, "Let justice take its course." So no defense there, no nothing. But again, we know what really is going on, right? So. Getting back to her school year as well, what I find is very interesting, what I was saying about the security cameras, she was personally involved in choosing the linen, choosing the towels, choosing the decoration at this, there my load shedding, choosing everything for the school, from all the personal finishing touches, but yet there's no security cameras to protect the girls. And these are the dodgy people that she's hiring. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's why I say no parents were allowed. Some said they couldn't. Some of the kids actually ran away. And they said they couldn't handle the pressure, right? So of what was going on at this academy. I was just talking about John of God, yeah. And when, sorry, this is the part I was looking about John of God. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit. Yeah, he was a convicted offender at the time, and he was one of the most famous healers on the planet, as we know. So he refused all interview requests except Oprah. So he went on to Oprah's show. And then in 2018, over 600 accusations. That's what I was looking for. I couldn't remember if it was 60 or 600. 600 is a lot of accusations of sexual misconduct, I have to tell you. And so he turned himself in, basically, and was sentenced to over 60 years in prison, which I find very, very, very interesting. So my point here with Oprah Winfrey, and she also has very, very strong connections with the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund as well. And we're going to go into that. Nelson Mandela is also right on my radar because he's not who he says he was. That is for sure. So Oprah is here and doing her thing in this country. I was watching some of her interviews with the girls and stuff. They call her mom, and she refers to them as her daughters. Now, there's a lot of speculation again about these girls and where they're disappearing to. You know, I've got my ideas on this, and it's very simple to me. My opinion. Okay, I didn't get this from anywhere that I've researched. Oprah's idea, because of course she's an African woman, a black woman, Africa being Africa, it is her intention when all of this shenanigans is over and the New World Order is in place and the one with the big mask on has taken the throne, Oprah intends to be head of Africa. Her place to be is Africa. Africa is incredibly strong in terms of energy with its ley lines, its portals, its stuff like that. Very, very strong dark witchcraft that happens here as well, which I've no doubt that she's connected to. So my idea around this is that these girls that she's been interviewing, right? Because only 4% of the interviewees get accepted. Only 4% of those girls get accepted. So it's quite a stringent process for them to come into Africa. Oh, sorry, not Africa, sorry, but into the school. So it's my opinion that these girls she knows exactly who she wants. No doubt some kind of test. She would know exactly what families they belong to, what bloodlines they have. And of course, with the witchcraft connected to the bloodlines and the families, it is my opinion that these girls are being trafficked. I'm not saying all of them. I do believe that some of them would be obviously there for cover. But a lot of them are trafficked, and I do believe they are sent to America or other places. Definitely, we know now how many strange little portals and things these girls get sent into for training and stuff like that. And she's strengthening her coven for when she wants to take over Africa. And that is why she and Angelina, at this point, in my opinion, have such a strong competition, if you will, because the two of them are competing as to who is going to be heading up Africa in the years to come. Please, God, let it not be any of them, because that would just be a disaster. These girls are, they're only accepted from grade 8 to 12. Grade 8 would be maybe 15. So from the age of 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, round about there, that's the age of the girls that she wants, which makes sense to me as well, because and especially if they've been primed and groomed already, that's the time where they are of childbearing age, things like that. So they get to be who she really wants them to be. So I want to just see if there's anything here in the comments before I say anything further. I'm just enjoying you guys here, so thank you so much. In the West, the food travels thousands. It's so strange. I was watching you, and there were some comments I could see, but like reading. Okay, now. Yeah, I'm sure the staff got her pregnant. Most definitely. And if it wasn't the staff, then it could well have been something even more nefarious. That's what I'm saying. So I always wonder whether that girl that had her baby in the rucksack was doing that to tell the world, to try and let out the secret type thing. That's a big question I have in my mind as well. Maybe, yeah, Lizanne, maybe the girl was afraid they would take her baby and use it. My point is that obviously these girls know what's going on. But I also think that some of them are so brainwashed already. And remember, because Africa has been so conditioned to believe that we need the West to give us money, because it's never been a situation of, right, there's your land, let us show you how it's done. Not that anyone needs to teach an African how to farm, because African people are natural farmers. They are natural people of the earth. They've got their animals, they've got their land. The tribes have been migrant for many, 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 many centuries. So there's no such thing. I mean, I always question, when did the West come in here and decide that Africa needed to be taught how to freaking farm? There's no such thing that Africa needs to be taught how to farm. It's different in the way that it's done there. But what they've done is they've corrupted Africa with money. So they've obviously lured people in and made them believe that money is the way that we have to, money is the only way. So we are truckloads and plane loads of food is flown in for the poor Africans, and then you see them standing there holding their hands out. But that's the way that we've been conditioned for many, 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 many decades. So when someone is conditioned to do that, that's what they become. We know that already, right? That's what they've been doing here for a long time. So of course she comes here, Oprah Winfrey, this free, the most wealthy woman in the world, the most wealthy African woman in the world, black woman in the world. So she's a role model for these girls, and she's a role model for these parents. So she's seductive with her words. She's seductive with her charms. She's like, seductive with her money. I've got a lot of money and I've got a lot of sense. I'm going to spend it here on you people. So immediately people are drawn in, because unfortunately people are corrupted by money. So that's the way that it is. So as long as people are corrupted by money, and as long as Africans haven't realized their worth in this equation, we are going to continue to have to be puppets. Yeah, I'm going to say puppets for the West. It's actually quite crazy. Yeah, and I'm just looking at Dalla. Yeah, she does have a huge following. Actually, I saw Oprah crying crocodile tears to the hymn "Amazing Grace." I wonder if she's actually aware of what she does. Actually, when someone is so deceptive, it makes me wonder if they really are actually aware of what they're doing, or if they really have so many splits and alters and things. And yeah, I was about to talk about the Maui property as well. Big Island Beach, also here on Maui. She's into animal MK Ultra training for snuff. Oh my gosh. Well, oh my gosh. Well, I haven't heard that, Big Island Beach. So I don't know if you maybe care to clarify on that point. Because of course we know that she was one of the houses, the blue houses in Maui that did not burn down. Yes, it's very possible that she's being cloned. I think there are a few clones of them running around. I do believe that they definitely have clones, and there's a couple of them running around, and you never know which one you're talking about or talking to, right? Yes, they do MK Ultra animals, absolutely. When you're looking at the animal armies, we actually did a show on that with Jesse not too long ago, animal armies. So maybe go check that out, because especially with the gorillas, they're very easily trained. I mean, there's videos and stuff here in Africa of, guys sitting around, and then suddenly, I don't know where, a baboon or a gorilla comes, and the next thing, this gorilla's got this AK-47 shooting everyone. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, they're definitely there's so much stuff on this planet that we don't know, and that it's being revealed to us now. And that's why, I'm so grateful to have guests like Jessie Zabota as well as Caleb Jade. Jessie knows the system very, very well, obviously having grown up in it, and her grandmother being the Queen Mother of Darkness. So one understands what happens in that system. And then, of course, we have Caleb Jade, who has been the person that has been in that system and experienced it pretty much all. He was in there for 35 years, I do believe, he said, yeah. And, now we see what is really going on. So these are the people that are coming out and talking about these things. Animals are innocent, I agree, and it makes me sick. It absolutely makes me sick to the pit of my stomach to know that these people are doing what they're doing to animals. One of the things that Jessie was talking about that they do in the system is that they will take a human baby, right? And they will impregnate the gorilla with the human cell embryo, right? So when she gives birth, she thinks it's hers, the mother. And then the male will come along, and then he realizes that's not his and it's not a gorilla. So, of course, he rips that baby apart to smithereens, and then the female and the male fight literally to the death for this child, this little baby. And then to watch the female gorilla, because we know that 99% got our genes, right? DNA. So she grieves, and this is what these guys get off on. They get off on watching stuff like this, and to think that Oprah is involved with that, with a primate prostitution ring, because that's really what it is, bestiality. That's absolutely disgusting. So any of this stuff that we're hearing about, not cool. Not cool. It happens here, and we also know Ellen DeGeneres has got her gorilla sanctuary in Rwanda, which is well known for the gorillas. And it's like what Jessie was also saying, is that a lot of these animals we've been told have gone extinct, but they're actually not extinct. They've just been kept in different places and controlled to do different things. That's crazy. And it's always about money and depravity. I think these people are so depraved. They have no idea. There's no heart. They live in the lower chakras of their body. There's no heart. There's no essence of love. There's nothing. It's just about how depraved can we be? How depraved can we get? And they know exactly how to get us to comply and use our energy for their purposes. Anyway, I'd be interested to know if any of you have got any more information on that. Yeah, they are definitely possessed satanically. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And also when you're looking at it, just brings so much clarity. Just brings so much. It makes sense to me. If you guys have been watching the stuff on the Cabbage Patch Kids, where Caleb was saying to us, I mean, these children are created from test tubes. They don't need parents. That's how advanced the system is and has been for a very long time. They use electricity, and they're obviously using DNA and all sorts of things from the elites, from maybe dead people. And I think that's when we understand, when we look deeper into from out of the ashes, the phoenix will rise. That's really what it is. They're creating these babies in test tubes. They're growing them, and then these babies are being matched to the fallen spirits, or the fallen souls, spirits that are in a place called Gleitner, right? I guess that's a level of hell where these spirits wait for a body. So when these babies are created, they are matched with the demonic spirit that is a fallen one. And I have no doubt that these people that are doing these things are probably, I'm not saying all of them, I don't know, but are probably offspring or creations of that. Because they're not operating from higher level consciousness. It's all about, and when you look at also Mr. Fox, I did interviews with him a number of months ago. I'm actually hoping to have him back on the channel again. We spoke about the organic portals, and these are people that literally operate only from their lower 3 energy centers. So it's all about money, power, sex. That's what they're interested in. And how depraved can they get? And that's what they do. And they're taught to be depraved. If you are not cruel enough, you are punished. You are punished until you are cruel enough. So they're taught to be cruel. They're taught to be depraved. And of course, the deception of this beautiful knowing face and this understanding, because we know they have a lot of understanding from when the angels fell and brought the knowledge with them. That knowledge is God's knowledge, and they've taken that knowledge and they've inverted it to do the most depraved things. And this is a result thereof. So, yeah, I like what you're saying. You know, and Madeline, when you say you think our Creator put animals on the earth to keep the vibration elevated to a certain point. Animals were always meant to be our companions. There's always our choice to eat them or not, by the way. Animals, despite what the Bible tells us, that we have dominion over the earth. That word dominion is very dangerous because it implies that we are able to dominate. We have domination, dominion. We have ownership, control. We don't. We are supposed to be stewards for the earth. We are supposed to be caretakers for the earth. We are supposed to care for the innocent. And yet many humans have forgotten that as well. And I know I always say this, and it doesn't make me popular, but for those of you who are eating meat, please know, and especially when it comes from factories, this factory farm stuff, right? Factory farm meat and this mass slaughterhouse stuff. And if you speak to people who've been in the system and they are stealing souls and they are charging crystals and gems with souls, it doesn't matter whether it's an animal or a human. Human is stronger, animal is not as strong. But so they would need more animals to charge these crystals that send them, like that charge the med beds and stuff like that. So I hope all of you who had the idea that med beds are the way to go for the future, please, they are so not. Watch the interview with Caleb again when he mentions what the med beds are. Med beds are really, and that, by the way, was in the it was the second Cabbage Patch, the hospital decode that he did, where he talks about the fact that these med beds are charged by these soul gems, and the soul gems are charged with souls of humans and animals. So those of us who think that eating meat is okay blindly, you are participating in a mass blood ritual. Think about how many animals are slaughtered every day and how many souls those animals have and what's happening to those souls. Because very often when a soul is in trauma, like animals in a slaughterhouse, because as an animal whisperer, an animal communicator, I can tell you for sure an animal is very, very sentient. They know exactly what is going on. So for those of us who think that it's all well and good, let's think again, because it's not. It's not. When we are participating in that, when we are being ignorant, and ignorance is not bliss. We can't say, well, I didn't know. What is different? So animals and humans are being used in a huge way for the dark forces. We know that. Babies, animals. And of course, the more innocent it is, the happier they are, because that's close to God. That's why they take the children and the animals. Remember, animals are innocents. They're not tainted. I do believe, Adela, that that's true, but so are babies. But I also know that those souls are stolen. When animals are sacrificed in rituals, where do you think these guys, what do you think they do with those animal souls? They steal them. These souls are used to charge crystals, med beds, soul gems. That's what they are. The source of that is the soul of the human or the animal. Anyway, guys, they're amazing. Animals are amazing. Definitely. Right. It is so good to have you guys here. I would love to hear some feedback from you if you have any. It would be really good to hear that. I think, you know, I hear, and please, I'm not in judgment of people who eat meat. And I know I'm often getting myself into trouble for saying things like this. But I just want to create awareness, because as someone who, as I said, as an animal whisperer, I work with animals. I connect with them very, very strongly. They too choose life. They are here to have life as well, in the same way that we are. They're just experiencing a different form of life to what we are. I always say, you know, when you, like, if we think, like, for example, your cat's had kittens and you're just going to give her babies away. Think about how long does a mother cry for her kittens after they've been given away. Anyone who's had a mother cat and has had her kittens given away, she's crying. She's in trauma. She wants her babies. And as a whisperer, an animal never, ever forgets how many babies she's had. I've had cats tell me all their litters that they've had, how many they've had in each litter, and what each baby looked like. I've had an animal remind me, gosh, a dog actually, it was about 12 years prior to that, was asking me about where the hedgehog was. And I said to the owner, like, what on earth is this little dog talking about? Where's the hedgehog? And she said, what? That was like more than a decade ago. They used to have a little pet hedgehog on the farm that they lived, and the little hedgehog died. And this dog was still asking about what happened to the hedgehog. So if we think that these things are not real and true, then we need to think again. Because the more we think that another life doesn't matter, we are willingly becoming ignorant to these things. And when we're ignorant, we then limit ourselves. We limit ourselves from growing and expanding. We keep our own pineal gland calcified. So step back and realize what is going on with every other species around us. It's about being respectful. It's about knowing that everything has feelings. I mean, look at a tick, even a tick on your dog, right? If you see a tick, even that thing runs. Even that thing runs for its life. Everything runs, right? Ants run for their lives. Everything runs for their life. Everything wants to live. Everything chooses life, no matter what life form it is. Just because we are humans and we think we have dominion, we actually don't. We have stewardship, as I was saying. We have stewardship over the earth. And we are here to take care of the ones that are innocent. That's my opinion. And that's my story. And I'm most definitely sticking to it. Anyway. Okay, guys. Yeah, it's so true about the music and the plants, right? Absolutely. Plants as well, you know. Everything has that frequency. I mean, my friend, it makes me think of the time my friend, her son, many years ago, he turned out to be a DJ in South Africa. Well, a very well-known DJ, by the way. I had to drive him to school, and years later, I'm partying at the club that he's DJing in. Strange how life works. But anyway, he used to play this hectic music near her plants. And she used to freak out, saying, "You're killing my plants, you're killing my plants," right? And as true as nuts they were. Because and then she as a test, she put some plants near the music, and then she took the others away. She treated them exactly the same, gave them exactly the same thing. But the plants were with that heavy, hectic music, they were the ones that were dying. And the other ones were thriving. So it's all about energy, frequency, vibration, all of these things. Yeah. That's true. They like to use our spirit because it can't be corrupted. Only the soul and body can be corrupted. Yeah, well, they've got to get to the soul first, don't they? Right? Because in our human form, we are operating from the soul. Yeah, in the spirit world, we're in spirit form then, and then we're obviously in spirit. That's the difference between spirit and soul. Of course, they have souls. Good grief! Of course, animals have souls. My word! Look into a dog's eyes. The other day, I rescued a little rat from drowning. It was the most delightful moment ever. This little thing's eyes was just the most beautiful expression. And I know if I got there like literally a half a minute later, the little thing would have died because it was in a cold water, it fallen into a cold water bucket early in the morning. And I just happened to be walking outside and I just saw it. So I took it out and I wrapped it up and I kept it and I literally brought it back to life in my hands and I could feel its little body coming back. And that little face, that look in its eyes, they do have souls. Ask anyone who's taken the life of an animal and stolen its soul. They do. Anyway. Okay, guys. I'm going to leave you there for now. Thank you so much for joining me. And that was about Oprah, supposedly. Funny how we tend to talk about things as well. But yeah, I think that's all connected with Oprah and her lovely primate pedo prostitution ring. Absolutely awful. Anyway, so I want to say to you, God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. And I will see you back on Monday. Happy Friday. Happy weekend, everybody. And have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time. Actually, wait, before I go, I was wanting to show you some of the pictures, yeah? Just of Oprah in her school. And there's Madam with Nelson Mandela. The two of them were great big buds. I don't even think that's real Nelson Mandela anyway. Nelson Mandela, it is said that he came out of prison and he was a few inches shorter. And even though one does get shorter, I know when you grow older, one of the reasons, and the rumor has it amongst us locals, which is a very strong rumor and always has been, that Winnie Mandela, his wife at the time, divorced him after he came out of prison because she said it wasn't the same man. She said he couldn't even speak Xhosa anymore. Xhosa is his natural language. He could only speak Sepedi and Zulu. Now that is completely different parts of the world. The Xhosa people and the Zulu people are living in completely different parts of the world. And when you can't speak Xhosa anymore, and that's your native tongue, there's something very wrong there. There's Madam and all her kiddies, mom and daughters, right? Perfect, beautiful cover. And there they are again. All graduating. Wow. Oprah was pretty skinny there. That must have been a while ago. She looks skinny, or as you say, maybe it's a clone. And there we go, doing pajama parties. So it all looks very pretty. All looks very pristine. But who knows? Thank you so much, everybody. Do you eat eggs do I eat eggs or dairy products? Very, very little. Very, very little. I'm not vegan. Yeah, I'm aware that the dairy industry is as bad. I will still occasionally, cream I love, I have to say. Dessert cream, oh boy. Oh boy, I'll get over it before I die, I'm sure. But and eggs not on their own. I won't, very seldom will I, I will say not even. Over the years, I've just not eaten many eggs, but it's like I don't eat like egg-free pasta or something like that. Stuff like that. But yeah, very little. Cool. Okay, guys and gals, take good care of you, right? And we will see you back next week for a nice full roundup. Take good care. Lots of love. And again, thank you to our awesome Patreons. for supporting our channel, and for everyone who supports us with your amazing donations and stuff like that. It's just really, really, really awesome. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. God bless. Take good care.